Lesson 16, Irrational Numbers. Here you can see what an irrational number is by looking at the picture. It cannot be expressed as a ratio of two integers, so it cannot be written as a fraction. It says it's not rational. It has decimal expansions that do not terminate or repeat, so it just keeps going on and on and on. So here, if you look at the picture here, these are all real numbers, and real numbers are separated between rational numbers and irrational numbers. All rational numbers are those all integers, whole numbers, natural numbers. They're all finite decimals, so decimals that end, or all recurring decimals that repeat. They are also going to be fractions as well. Irrational numbers are all those, again, real numbers which do not belong as the rational. So you're going to see pi in there. You'll see like a variable which just means any number there. And then you have some radicals involved with there, with square roots, as long as it's not a perfect square. So let's take a look at some examples. Which number is irrational? A, square root of 0, B, the square root of 4, C, the square root of 8, or D, the square root of 16. The only answer for this one would be C, because the square root of 0, square root of 0 is 0, square root of 4 is 2, square root of 16 is 4. All of those are rational numbers, so it has to be C, the square root of 8. The other side, negative 3, square root of 9, 9 halves, and the square root of 7. Square root of 3, well, this is an integer, so it can't be this one. Square root of 9 is 3, so it can't be that one. 9 halves is 4.5, so that is 4.5. It's a decimal that ends. It's a fraction, so that's rational. The only choice is D, square root of 7. Next one, arrange these real numbers in order from least to greatest. So if we think about these, let's see the smallest one there. We don't have any number less than 0, so 0 is the smallest. Then 5/9, that's not a full that's not a full 1, because if 9/9 is 1, so that means we have 5/9, because that's less than 1. Then we would have 1, and then we would have 1.2. And then if you think about the square root of 5, the square root of 5, 2 times 2 is 4, so it's got to be a little bit more than 2. So that means 2 would have to be next, then the square root of 5, and then the biggest number would be 3. Arrange these real numbers in order from least to greatest. So I first check to see if I have any negatives, and I do have a negative, this number right here, so that's my smallest number, so 0.6. Then we have 0, because no other negatives. And then we look at our positives. 3/4 is 0.75. So 3/4 is bigger than 0.5. So I know that has to go after 0.5. Square root of 2. Well, 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 2 is 4. So I know it has to be between 1 and 2. So between 1 and 2, that's bigger than 3/4, bigger than half, and it's bigger than 1. So our next one will have to be 0.5. Then we would have 3/4. Then we would have 1. And then our biggest number would be the square root of 2. These next problems, word problems. The area of this square is 2 centimeters squared. What is the length of each side? So remember, area equals the side squared for an area of a square. And so if the area is 2 square centimeters, I need to find out what s squared would be, what s would be. So to undo a square, so square root of s squared would be s. I need to find the square root of this side. which would give me the square root of 2 centimeters. And so the square root of 2, we don't need to find out what the decimal for that one would be. We could just keep it as a square root of 2. If you wanted to put it as an about approximate decimal, it would be roughly 1.4 centimeters. Find the length of each side of these squares. So area equals the side squared. So the area is 400 square millimeters. I need to find what s is, so I'll find the square root of s squared, which is s, square root of 400, which would be 20 millimeters. And here I have 3 square centimeters, so area equals s squared. Area is 3 square centimeters. I need to find out what s would be. So to undo a square, I find the square roots, s. Find the square root of the other side. That would give me a square root of 3 centimeters. And the last one, here's calculator problems. Use a calculator to find the square roots of these numbers. Round to the nearest hundredth. So I'm going to share my calculator with you so you can see how you can do this. So bring that in here. So I'd hit the second button, the square roots, and then type in 10, hit enter, and I get 3.16. So to the nearest hundredth, so that's 2 decimal places, so that would be about 3.16. Now if we go back to our calculator again, do the square root of 20. The second square root of 20, we get about 4.47. So about 4.47. And then the last one, we have the square root of 40. So a second square root of 40. This would give us about 6.32. Now we could figure out the estimate without using a calculator by taking the perfect square before the radicand, so before 40, and then the perfect square after 40, and give a general estimate. This estimate using your calculator will give us more of an accurate